October 23rd, 1987, Madison Square Garden. 8:47 p.m. Michael Jackson was performing The Way You Make Me Feel when a desperate scream cut through 50,000 screaming fans. What happened next became the most talked about concert moment in music history. When 22-year-old Lisa Rodriguez broke through security and kissed the king of pop on his cheek, nobody could have predicted how this single moment of pure emotion would create a friendship lasting decades. This isn't just a story about an overzealous fan. This is about how one spontaneous act of love reminded the world's biggest superstar why he fell in love with performing in the first place. Lisa Rodriguez had been planning this night for 8 months. She worked double shifts at Tony's downtown diner, survived on ramen noodles, and sold her grandmother's jewelry to afford a front row ticket. But Lisa's connection to Michael's music went deeper than typical fandom. 3 years earlier, her father Antonio had died suddenly of a heart attack. He was Lisa's world, her biggest supporter, her best friend, the man who raised her alone after her mother abandoned them when Lisa was 7. After his death, Lisa fell into depression so deep she barely left her apartment for 6 months. It was Michael Jackson's music that pulled her from the darkness. Human nature comforted her during sleepless nights. Man in the Mirror gave her strength to face each day. Beat It helped her find courage to rebuild her life. Michael's music hadn't just entertained her. It had literally saved her from drowning in grief. Michael Jackson pulled me out of the darkest hole of my life, Lisa had told her best friend Maria earlier that day. His music was therapy. It was having someone understand exactly how broken you felt and showing you that you could dance your way back to happiness. Tonight felt different, Section A, Row 1, Seat 12. Close enough to see Michael's face clearly. I need him to know what his music did for me, Lisa had said, applying makeup with shaking hands. I need to thank him somehow. The energy inside Madison Square Garden was electric. This was the final New York show of the Bad World Tour's American leg fans had camped outside for 3 days. Some had traveled from Japan and Australia just to be there. When the lights dimmed at 8:15 p.m., the roar from 50,000 voices registered on seismic equipment 3 blocks away. Michael emerged through silver smoke, wearing his iconic sequin jacket and crystal glove. "Wanna be starting something," pumped through the sound system, and the crowd exploded. Lisa was in heaven. She could see every facial expression, every dance move, every sparkle catching the stage lights. She was close enough to see the intensity in his eyes, the precision of his movements, the slight sheen of sweat forming on his forehead. For 2 songs, everything went perfectly. Michael performed with the energy that had made him the most famous entertainer on the planet. During Smooth Criminal, the crowd clapped in perfect unison. Camera flashes went off like lightning during Billie Jean. Lisa cried during Human Nature, remembering those nights it had comforted her after her father's death. Then came The Way You Make Me Feel. This was when Michael traditionally interacted most closely with his audience. He strutted to the front edge of the stage with his distinctive swagger. The spotlight followed him, creating an ethereal golden glow. He sang directly to the front rows, his voice smooth and seductive. "The way you make me feel, you really turn me on," Michael sang, pointing toward the crowd with his gloved hand. Lisa felt like he was singing directly to her. Their eyes met for a split second. In that moment, 8 months of anticipation, 3 years of grief and healing, and a lifetime of dreams converged into one overwhelming impulse. She had to do something. She had to show Michael what his music meant to her. "This is my only chance," she thought, her heart pounding. "I'll never be this close again." What happened next shocked everyone, including the security team that had protected Michael for over a decade. Lisa Rodriguez, all 5 feet 2 inches and 110 pounds, somehow slipped past 3 levels of professional security and climbed onto one of entertainment's most heavily guarded stages. The first security guard, Tony Castellano, was positioned directly in front of Lisa's section. At the exact moment Lisa moved, he was distracted by another fan throwing a letter onto the stage. In that 2-second window, Lisa vaulted over the barricade with athletic ability that surprised everyone, including herself. The second line of defense, 4 security personnel at stage level, were focused on the opposite side where fans held a massive "Michael Marry Me" banner. They didn't see the petite brunette in the white Michael Jackson t-shirt sprinting across the concrete floor with tears streaming down her face. The final barrier was the 4-foot-high stage platform. Adrenaline and pure determination gave Lisa superhuman strength. She grabbed the edge, pulled herself up with energy she didn't know she possessed, and rolled onto the performance platform. The entire security breach took 15 seconds. Michael was executing intricate choreography when he noticed unexpected movement. He turned to see a young woman with curly brown hair and tears streaming down her face running directly toward him. For a split second, Michael froze. In 15 years of performing, nothing like this had happened. His security team was rushing across the stage, but they wouldn't reach her in time. Instead of stepping back or signaling for help, Michael did something that would define his character forever. Lisa ran up to the king of pop, reached up, grabbed his face with trembling hands, and planted a firm, grateful kiss on his right cheek. Madison Square Garden's 50,000 people fell completely silent. It was a moment existing outside normal time. Michael Jackson, the world's most famous entertainer, standing perfectly still while a crying fan held his face and kissed his cheek with pure gratitude. Stage lights created an ethereal glow around them. Smoke machines continued their gentle hiss. And for 10 seconds, it looked almost choreographed. But this was real, raw, and completely spontaneous. What Michael did next revealed everything about who he was as a person. Instead of pulling away or treating this as a threat, Michael smiled. Not his practiced stage smile, his real, genuine surprise smile that lit up his entire face. He looked down at Lisa, who was sobbing uncontrollably with joy, relief, and disbelief. Instead of stepping back, Michael gently placed his hands on her shoulders, steadying her as she shook with emotion. "Are you okay?" he asked softly. His voice picked up clearly by his wireless microphone. Lisa couldn't speak. She just cried and nodded frantically, overwhelmed that she was actually standing with her hero, that he was being kind instead of angry. "Thank you," Michael said with genuine warmth. "That was very sweet. What's your name?" "Lisa," she whispered through tears. "Lisa Rodriguez." "Well, Lisa Rodriguez," Michael said with that gentle tone that had comforted millions. "That might be the most genuine moment I've ever experienced on a stage." Then Michael Jackson hugged her. Right there in front of 50,000 people and dozens of cameras, the king of pop embraced a fan who had broken through security to kiss him. He held her close, letting her cry on his sequined jacket, patting her back like a big brother comforting a sister. When the audience realized what was happening, that Michael wasn't angry, that he was actually hugging her, Madison Square Garden exploded in the loudest cheer in the venue's history. Fans screamed, cried, jumped with pure joy. Camera flashes went off like strobe lights. The sound was so loud it could be heard outside the arena. "Oh my God!" screamed Maria Santos from Lisa's empty seat. "Michael Jackson is hugging my best friend." The moment lasted 45 seconds but felt like eternity. Michael continued holding Lisa as security approached, making sure they understood he didn't want her hurt. "Please be very gentle with her," Michael instructed clearly into his microphone. "She didn't mean any harm. She just wanted to show love." Head of security, James Mitchell, a former Secret Service agent, approached cautiously. "Michael, we need to—" "I know, James," Michael said calmly. "Just give us another moment. This is important." Michael turned back to Lisa, who had calmed significantly. "Lisa, what you just did reminded me of something very important. You reminded me why I do this. Your love, your emotion, your courage. That's what music is supposed to be about." Lisa looked up with wonder, still processing this was real. "I need you to go back to your seat now," Michael continued gently. "But promise me something. Will you sing along with the next song? Will you help me perform it?" Lisa nodded eagerly. "Yes, thank you, Michael. Thank you for your music. It saved my life." "Thank you for reminding me what this is all about," Michael replied. Then he kissed Lisa's forehead, a gentle, brotherly kiss that sent the crowd into another frenzy. He carefully guided her toward security, keeping his arm protectively around her. "James, please make sure Lisa gets back to her seat safely," he instructed. "Make sure no one gives her trouble. She's been through enough." As Lisa was escorted back to thunderous applause lasting 3 minutes, Michael addressed the crowd with more emotion than anyone had heard during a performance. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, words carrying to every corner of the arena, "that young lady reminded me of something I'd almost forgotten. You don't come here just to see me perform. You come because music connects us. It heals us. It brings us together in ways nothing else can." The crowd roared approval, many wiping tears. "Lisa Rodriguez showed me and all of you what real courage looks like. She followed her heart, showed love without fear, and reminded me that behind all the lights and choreography, this is really about human connection." Michael paused, looking over the sea of faces focused on him. "So this next song isn't just for Lisa. It's for everyone who's ever been touched by music, everyone who's found comfort in a melody, everyone who's felt less alone because of a song." Michael launched into human nature, but this performance was profoundly different. It carried new depth, vulnerability his most devoted fans had never witnessed. His voice had extra layers of emotion, movements more fluid and natural. He kept looking at Lisa's section, making sure she was singing along as promised. She was. Through tears of joy and disbelief, Lisa Rodriguez sang every word, her voice joining 50,000 others in one of the most moving musical moments anyone would ever experience. The rest of the concert was magical in ways that transcended normal entertainment. Michael's interaction with Lisa had created an atmosphere of love permeating the entire venue. Fans hugged strangers, sang together with unprecedented enthusiasm, experiencing the communal joy concerts are meant to create but rarely achieve. After the final encore, something unprecedented happened. Michael Jackson, who rarely met fans after shows due to security and exhausting schedules, specifically requested to see Lisa Rodriguez. She was brought backstage, still shocked from everything that happened. Her legs were shaky, voice hoarse from singing and crying. She kept touching her forehead where Michael had kissed her, convincing herself it was real. "I can't believe I did that," she told James Mitchell as he escorted her through backstage corridors. "I can't believe Michael Jackson hugged me. I can't believe he wasn't angry." "He's a good man," James replied. "In 20 years protecting celebrities, I've never seen anyone handle a situation with such grace and kindness." When Lisa entered Michael's dressing room, he was still in his concert clothes. Sequin jacket, black pants, crystal glove. He stood immediately when she entered, his face lighting with genuine pleasure. "Lisa, I'm so glad you could come back. How are you feeling?" "I'm sorry," Lisa stammered. "I know I shouldn't have done that. I hope I didn't ruin your show." "Ruin my show?" Michael laughed, softer, more genuine than his stage persona. "Lisa, that was the most beautiful moment I've experienced on stage. You didn't ruin anything. You saved something." Michael gestured for her to sit. "Tell me about yourself. I want to know who you are. What brought you to that moment tonight?" For the next hour, they talked like old friends, not superstar and fan, but two humans connecting fundamentally. Lisa told him about losing her father, how his music helped her survive the darkest period, working endless shifts for the concert ticket, the journal she kept analyzing each song's emotional impact. Michael listened with complete attention, asking thoughtful questions, sharing his own experiences with loss and healing. "You know what you taught me tonight?" Michael asked as their conversation wound down. "You reminded me this isn't just entertainment. This is about connection, real, honest, human connection. I get so caught up in choreography, production meetings, business pressure to be perfect, that I forget why I started this." Michael pulled out a small piece of paper, wrote something, and handed it to Lisa with a shy but determined smile. "This is my personal phone number. Not management, not my publicist. My actual number, I want you to call me next Tuesday around 7. Will you?" Lisa stared in disbelief. "But why? You're Michael Jackson." "Because tonight you gave me something I haven't felt in years," Michael interrupted gently. "You reminded me what it feels like to be human on that stage, not just a performer. You helped me remember the best part isn't applause or awards. It's moments like tonight when music actually changes someone's life." The friendship beginning that night lasted over a decade, and became one of Michael's most meaningful relationships. True to his word, Michael answered when Lisa called that Tuesday. They talked 3 hours about everything from music to philosophy to shared experiences with loss. That weekly call continued for years. Lisa became something rare in Michael's celebrity world, a genuine friend with no agenda, no business interests, just someone who cared about him as a person and understood music's healing power. Michael was completely different on the phone, Lisa later recalled. Quieter, more thoughtful, incredibly funny in ways people never saw. He'd ask about my job, family, dreams. He remembered details from months-old conversations. When Lisa graduated nursing school in 1990, Michael sent a congratulations card with a $5,000 check for student loans. When she married in 1993, he sent white roses with a note. To Lisa, who taught me love is the most courageous thing. When her first child was born in 1995, he sent a signed photo to baby Rodriguez from Uncle Michael. But perhaps most remarkably, that spontaneous Madison Square Garden moment fundamentally changed how Michael approached every concert afterward. After that night with Lisa, said longtime backup dancer Jeffrey Daniel, Michael started looking at audiences differently. He was scanning for genuine connection opportunities, realizing his most powerful performances weren't always technically perfect. They were when something real and unscripted happened. Michael began incorporating more spontaneous audience interaction, bringing fans on stage regularly, always treating them with the same kindness he'd shown Lisa. That night taught us something important, said James Mitchell, who continued as Michael's security chief. Sometimes the most dangerous thing for security is also the most beautiful for the human spirit. Our job became creating opportunities for meaningful connection while keeping everyone safe. The footage became one of entertainment history's most replayed concert moments. But for Lisa and Michael, it was never about publicity or viral fame. It was about pure human connection, transcending the artificial barrier between performer and audience. People ask if I regret rushing the stage, Lisa says today, now a 58-year-old pediatric nurse with 3 children. But how can you regret a moment that taught you heroes can be as beautiful inside as they appear outside? Michael didn't just tolerate my impulsiveness. He embraced it. He turned what could have been embarrassing into one of life's most meaningful experiences. The October 1987 lesson extends beyond entertainment. Sometimes the most powerful human connections happen when we break conventional rules, follow hearts instead of heads, choose genuine emotion over social convention. Lisa's kiss didn't just shock 50,000 people. It reminded everyone that beneath glitter and fame, real human connection remains the world's most powerful force. Today, there's a small Madison Square Garden plaque reading, "In memory of moments when music becomes magic and strangers become family. October 23rd, 1987. It doesn't mention names, but everyone there knows what night it commemorates, when love conquered security protocols, when spontaneity trumped planning, when a 22-year-old woman's desperate need to say thank you became a lifelong friendship. The night Michael Jackson proved the most royal thing about being king of pop wasn't talent, fame, or success. It was his heart. When Michael Jackson passed away on June 25, 2009, Lisa Rodriguez was among the thousands of mourners at his memorial service. But unlike most people there, she wasn't mourning a distant celebrity she had admired from afar. She was saying goodbye to a genuine friend who had taken her moment of courageous vulnerability and transformed it into decades of mutual support, understanding, and love. The world lost the king of pop that day, Lisa reflected during her eulogy at a private gathering of Michael's closest friends. But I lost something even more precious. I lost the person who taught me that fame and talent mean nothing if you don't use them to lift others up. Michael could have had me arrested that night in 1987. Instead, he chose compassion. He chose to see the hurt behind my desperation and respond with love. In the years following Michael's death, Lisa became an unofficial keeper of his humanitarian legacy. She established the Moment of Connection Foundation, inspired by that October night at Madison Square Garden. The foundation's mission is simple: to remind people that in our increasingly disconnected digital world, genuine human connection remains the most powerful force for healing and hope. Michael taught me that we all have the power to be someone's light in a dark moment. Lisa explains to the children she now counsels as a pediatric nurse. You don't need to be famous or wealthy or talented. You just need to be willing to see another person's pain and respond with kindness instead of judgment. The foundation has funded over 200 connection moments, surprise visits to hospitals, random acts of kindness for struggling families, and programs that bring musicians to perform for children facing difficult circumstances. Each initiative carries a small card with a quote from Michael. The greatest gift we can give each other is our authentic presence. Perhaps most remarkably, Lisa's children have grown up understanding that their mother's friendship with Michael Jackson was never about his celebrity status. It was about the profound truth that when we dare to show our authentic selves to others, magical things can happen. Mom always tells us that Uncle Michael's real superpower wasn't his moonwalk or his voice, says Lisa's oldest daughter, Maria. It was his ability to make someone feel seen and valued in their worst moment. She says that's a superpower we all have if we're brave enough to use it. Today, whenever Lisa hears Human Nature playing somewhere, in an elevator, at a restaurant, on the radio, she stops what she's doing and smiles. Not because it reminds her of meeting a celebrity, but because it reminds her of a truth that October night in 1987 taught her. Sometimes the most important thing you can do is follow your heart, even when it leads you somewhere unexpected. The young woman who once cried herself to sleep every night after losing her father learned from Michael Jackson that grief doesn't have to be the end of the story. It can be the beginning of a mission to make sure other people never feel as alone as she once did. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, that mission begins with a spontaneous kiss on a stage in front of 50,000 people, and a superstar who chooses love over protocol. Michael used to say that we're all just walking each other home while, Lisa reflects. That night at Madison Square Garden, he walked me home to hope, and for the rest of his life, I tried to do the same for others. I think that would make him proud.